What's up? Light Brigade is a very unique game. There might be other VR roguelites out there where the enemies you fight are people who turn into shadow monsters with range-based combat and gameplay elements heavily inspired by Catholicism, but you know what there aren't? There aren't any other VR roguelites where the enemies you fight are people who turn into shadow monsters with range-based combat and gameplay elements heavily inspired by Catholicism where you fight with World War I guns. See, it's unique. Light Brigade isn't something that I haven't seen before, but it's something that is a tried and true genre of VR game. I like the sword version of this game, and I liked it when it was the bow version of this game, but we aren't talking about those versions, we're talking about this version. Never before have we seen a game with such polish, such class, such attention to detail, until the fire level, you know. But before I get to that, let's talk about the only thing anyone has ever cared about in VR shooters: guns. At the beginning of this game, I was like, dang, you only get a bolt-action rifle? Then I realized it was semi-auto and the game was immediately a lot better. But I don't like rifles, I like pew-pew tiny guns. Then I did another run with the rifle and was like, this ain't me. So I went back to the base to upgrade my class and found there's like 5 other classes with very different playstyles to choose from, so I picked up the SMG class and immediately beat the game. I was told this was Dark Souls difficulty. I guess I never played Dark Souls. The gunplay is diverse and smooth. In fact, it's almost perfect, but you can't configure different parts of your equipment belt. I want my ammo belt where it is in every other VR game, in the center of my chest. Where did they put it? The left hip, but slightly in front of me, so I have to look every time, and I can't develop muscle memory based on spots on my body because it's like, oh, where's it? It's floating off in space somewhere. Where's my sidearm? By my side? No, it's on the right side of my body, yes, but just floating forward a little bit. If you try to move the belt to where it makes sense to have the ammo and like the hip holster, you can't access the grenades because you would have to reach inside your stomach. Fun part of this game though, you can kill the guys in your base, which is really, really funny, but then Mother Teresa shoots you with an AR-15 and you die. Honestly, the boss fights in this game are a little bit lacking, except for that second one. That one was pretty cool. I like the puzzly thing where you find all the hidden levers and you get to shoot a fat lady. But yeah, the bosses were way too easy. The first one was probably the hardest one because he's the only one that can actually shoot behind cover or pierce through cover. I mean, he has this cool little icicle storm that comes down to try and kill you. I mean, I still never lost to this guy, but over the 3 runs that I actually did, he cost me like 1 life, I think? So I guess that's not nothing. Speaking of extra lives, they really shouldn't give you so many extra lives. Maybe just like 1 extra life or even none, but I mean, maybe you just have to get the rest of them through upgrades. I don't know, it's not a bad feature, it's just one that they overused. There isn't very much random generation in this roguelite. I honestly can't tell if these are randomly generated levels or not, but in just my 3 runs, I came across at least 10 of the same levels, which makes me think, yeah, it really doesn't have that much variation. So I expected the levels to be really good. The frost levels were okay, but the bear traps are a lackluster feature that's only ever gonna get you once before you realize what they are, and notice the giant red indicators that tell you not to step on them. There's always too much cover or none at all. You're never ducking behind some small rampart to reload. It's always, I could probably use the edge of this boulder to shoot at them from. The only maps that are actually good are the sewers, but the problem is that they offer really nothing for long-range combat, even if you wanted to play that way. Once you step into the fire level, you immediately see the exact kind of level we've been looking for. You got towers, you got low barricades, you got moving cover. You're almost willing to overlook the fact that the lava texture is floating 3 feet higher than it's supposed to. But then you realize that if you actually try and stand on top of the moving platforms, you just clip inside of them, and the towers have a fully functional roof you can shoot from, but it has a floor on top of it at waist height. They just put a floor plane up there with no collision and forgot about it. These levels would have been so cool if it wasn't for game-breaking bugs. The obsidian levels are freaking awesome, you know, if they had more than 4 guys in these gigantic temples. Oh yeah, and the final boss kept making the screen go black, and I don't know what these scanners do, but I accidentally killed him during one of the blackouts, so I guess I beat him accidentally. That was kind of lame. The graphics are alright, nothing super cool, it's nothing new that breaks the immersion until it really does freaking lava levels. This game needs patches, but the devs have already been rolling them out, so I'm pretty confident the fire levels won't be crappy for that long. You might be thinking this game sounds really, really bad based on what I've been saying, but it has double pistols, so everything's okay. There's a lot of bugs with this game, and the bosses aren't that great, but they got the guns, enemies, and charms so right that it makes up for a lot of it. So as a recap, lose a point for bosses, lose a point for crappy levels, lose 0.84 points for the tiny enemies and environmental hazards, gain a point for the guns, charms, and enemies, and gain a point because they had double pistols. 4.16 out of 5. It sounds mathematical, so I can't be wrong.